evening. Welcome to episode 2. I don't know if it's an episode, whatever. Today I'm talking about Western Winds featuring Sierra Hull. Tune that I just put out on my brand new record, Trail Songs, Dawn. If you're unfamiliar with this tune, here's a little snippet. Now people ask me all the time, how do you put your songs together? How do you do your thing? How are you recording in the midst of a pandemic? Well, I recorded this tune in, I think, April, maybe March. The entire year is all one big blob. This tune started, like the majority of my tunes, as a little voice memo. An idea of me hanging out in my kitchen, playing my acoustic guitar, trying to write something that maybe someday will help my daughter have enough money to go to college. 1, 2, 3. Now, I took that voice memo, as you can see, recorded on September 14th, 2019. I started to develop it a little bit more. Actually, I played this tune live once. Where? Roma, Italy. My favorite country in the world to visit. We were feeling great mid-Europe tour, and I said, guys, I got this voice memo. I want to try this live tonight. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Brand new tune, unreleased, never played. How does it go? I said, yeah. And as a matter of fact, I got a second one. And there's a little tune called Lily Pad. You can actually see there's an Instagram video of me playing it. And I was actually just teaching it to the band right there. But this tune, Western Winds, I decided to play 2 new songs in one night in Rome. Because we were feeling hot. We were feeling good. And we had a long set time, too. It was for the Rome Jazz Festival. Hey, and I got to give my Italian friends some love. Give them some new jams. They were pumped. Sometimes I want to try to develop my tunes. The majority of the time, I'm working with a horn section. I got the whole full band, that sort of thing. That's what I initially had planned for this tune. Let me show you what sometimes ends up happening with a little demo. I end up singing the parts that I think the horn section maybe should play, and it might sound a little crazy, but hey, it's what I do. It's part of my process. It's not a perfect system, but I'll tell you what, it gets the juices flowing creatively, and it lets Michael Nelson from the Hornheads, horn arranger, lets him know exactly what I'm looking for, and he can interpret as he'd like. Whether I'm in key or not doesn't matter. The ideas, the concept, that's what matters when making these sort of things. So I know a lot of you folks are writing tunes, artists yourself, songwriters. I think it's okay. Your voice memos don't need to be perfect. They just need to get the idea across so when you listen back to it, you remember what it sounds like. It gets it in your head. So I did not have the fortune of being able to get that tune out the way that it is. Hey, Michael, if you're watching, that's the idea for the horn arrangement. Let's go to work. In the meantime, what ended up happening is I found myself at home wanting to record a lot of music with acoustic guitar. So I thought, I heard about this insane mandolin player from my friend Eddie Barbash. Eddie plays saxophone with Sierra Hall. Sierra Hall is insane on the mandolin. She's also a dope singer and guitar player. I checked her out. I sent her a message on Instagram just saying, hey, I know we have a lot of mutual friends. I'm a huge fan of your work. Would you be down to feature on one of my tunes? Because I'd love to have you. She said yes, and here we are, right here at this Pro Tools session. I'll show you what I got started with. Now, here's the deal. I made a little demo mock-up, sent it to Petar, had him play some drums. After Petar played his drums on it, I had Seth Tackaberry play some bass on it, and then I sent it to Sierra. As you can see here, don't come at me for the editing, okay? Not everybody has their best days, and I think Petar maybe wasn't as locked as I wanted him to be. No fault to Petar. He's an amazing drummer. Sometimes I want the subdivision to be on the grid, though. Ha ha!
Touché.
Now, to be fair to Petar, he gave me a couple takes, so some of these things are going back and forth between different takes. It's not like I was chopping up everything, micromanaging his entire drum part. Here's Seth's bass part. Nice and tight. Now, I had him replace my bass part because I was just going to be the bass player on this tune. But I couldn't get the sound and the feel that I wanted without a pick. I really didn't feel like putting in all the work and the editing on myself on the bass, so I just had Seth do it because Seth's an amazing bass player. Tell you what, though, I'm going to show you a little bit of what my bass was because Seth just played the exact part down pretty much note for note, but without a pick. That's me. Here's Seth. For guitar, I had an RE20 kind of face at the butt of the guitar, a Sterling Audio ST55, like $100 microphone that I've had since I was 20 years old, placed in the spot where you're supposed to record acoustic guitar, and a DI. This one, it's not a perfect science, but with this sort of song, there wasn't a whole lot of reference as far as what a mix should sound like because there's not a lot of funk acoustic records. So I allowed myself to get away from any rules or regulations when it comes to recording acoustic instruments and just do the thing. Just record it and mix it how I want to and not have to think about, oh, well, normally it would be this way. I listened to a lot of Dave Matthews Band records growing up, and a lot of the live records, it's just Dave's DI Taylor acoustic right into the board. So that's the guitar comp. Then I also had a lead guitar. And this guitar is kind of a duet between Sierra and I. Throughout the tune, my lead guitar and hers were kind of complementing each other, going back and forth, weaving back and forth. So here's the little verse melody line that I had. So you can see from the demo to here, this pre-chorus part is a totally new thing. On the original demo, all I really had was the A section and the line. When I got to actually writing the tune in studio land, I felt like it needed an actual kind of verse thing and just a section with other changes. And I'm an arpeggio guy. I like arpeggios. Okay, so I went with the arpeggio approach. We're gonna get there right now. Sierra Hall is so dope at mandolin. I couldn't believe it. She emails me these tracks and just says, hey, here's 2 passes. One, mandolin straight down. Other one, adding a little extra thing on top. You can see what mic she's using. She said, hey, I used a Neumann 103 and a Shure 137. So here's what her mandolin sounds like. Now, I know it's compressed. All right, I know it's compressed, but it sounds good in the mix like this. Look at that, she is so on the grid. Her timing is insane. Her timing is ridiculous. She is so good. She plays it cleaner than I do. Oh, that's funky. Speaking of funky, let's get into this line. No cymbals. Petar coming in with that Yogi Horton style. I like that. He knows I love Yogi. Now, arrangement-wise, what I wanted this is for that A section to feel really big, for it to feel like that's the spot where the guitar, the mandolin, and the bass really synced up on some of these lines, had a big energetic thing, doesn't necessarily have a melody thing over it, but the way that the chords work on their own, kind of naturally in its own way, is a melodic thing. So I wanted that to be its own thing, but then also some lines where it feels like it syncs up, floats apart, syncs up, floats apart, that sort of thing. Now, there's one element of this song's production that I have not talked about yet, and that's Apple loops. You heard it here, folks. Apple loops. I don't have too much ego to use an Apple loop. I like the Apple loops, and they're free. Tell you what, quick story, not to flex. I know this next loop is Kevin Bacon approved because he and I have both used it on our productions. He and I talked about it in a previous episode of the Wong Notes podcast.
Well, you know, the amazing thing about that, when you really think about it,
Kevin Bacon and I both have an affinity for the African Kit 1 loop. I busted him on using this loop on his last Bacon Brothers record, and I talked to him on my podcast about it. It was funny to see. You don't see this in the podcast because it's just audio, but when we were talking over our video chat, I said, dude, I know what that loop is on that tune. He's like, come on, man. Sometimes it's kind of embarrassing to be loop busted, but I got no ego about it. This is the loop. Straight up Apple loop right here. Ho! That's a dope loop. Now, it might be kind of whack on its own, or in certain contexts, it might be cheesy, but I feel like it just adds a little extra thing to this section. Actually, let me show you what exactly I have for these little loops. You hear this clap sample in a lot of my tunes, actually. I love this clap. It's from the hip hop heavy kit in Logic. I think it's an Ultra Beat kit, maybe? I don't know. I love that clap sample. I had Steve Gould put it on his SPDSX pad. You can hear it on Team Sports, a lot of other tracks. It's on a lot of stuff. Anyways, here's the loops. Just adds a little vibe. Here's without it. Here's that whole section without it. It's fine. It's good. But now it adds a little extra. This adds a little something. Now I want to show you something about Sierra Hull because I asked her to do her thing on this, right? I asked her to do her thing, interpret the tune however she pleases, because I trusted her. We have a lot of mutual friends. Everybody speaks highly of her. I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos. I've followed her for a while. She's amazing. What I was really surprised to find is her attention to detail where it really counted in the arrangement, and then, boom, went and made her own phrasing, articulations, and did her own thing, brought in her own voice where it really felt like there was room for that. Now, one thing you'll notice right there is she kind of led into the solo. So there's she let the funk thing happen, that line thing happen, and then 4 bars of kind of creeping, letting you know, hey, I'm on deck. I'm about to go for this solo. And then boom, once the solo section starts, it's very obvious that it's a mandolin solo. I think that was really cool. And it was a way for her to kind of ease into the solo, although my guitar parts are very much just stair-stepped. So a lot of times when I'm thinking about arrangements, I'm thinking dynamically, is it terraced? Like just one thing stair-stepping one in or out? Or is it a gradual thing? And it was cool because she decided to go gradual while my guitar parts are very terraced. So that was cool. Here's where the mandolin solo starts. Let's listen to this sucker soloed. Oh! That flows right back into the A section. So nice, too. And I like it's feels good. Guitar parts, I wanted to get the little Prince funky thing in there. And have the lead guitar do its own little comp. And then the regular guitar comp. So here's all 3 of my guitars just comping together. Clone Wars right there. Now here we go. Here's the mandolin solo with everything in it. That's fun. That's fun. Very fun for me to do. Because honestly, I heard this tune originally as electric guitar, horn section, whatever I was doing in that voice memo there. But as soon as I found myself in lockdown with no way to play or try things live, I figured, let's just do this acoustic. Let's try this thing out. No horn section, small band vibe, basically me doubling myself a couple times with bass, drums, and mandolin, and see how it feels. And you know what? I feel really excited about this. And a big part of the silver lining of this entire thing of being in lockdown is that I would have never done this outside of this. I had so many other things planned. This was just not on my radar to do a funky acoustic record. But I found myself in lockdown with no touring, no shows, and a bunch of friends who have great remote recording rigs. Why not just try something? And I think the lesson in that for me was try to make the best of whatever situation you're in. And that sounds cheesy, I know. But it's one of those things that maybe it's cheesy and cliche for a reason, because it's right. Because it's one of those things that, for me, I would have never put out this record. I would have never written the majority of this music had it not been for this time where I had forced myself to be in this reflective, contemplative state and just rely on the fact that a bunch of my friends have great or okay remote recording rigs, and we just make it work. So I want to encourage those of you that are watching, for those of you that are artists or musicians, you might not have the greatest recording setup in the world. Your friends might not either, but just make do with what you've got and try to have some fun. Try to explore a little bit, and whatever parameters and limits you find yourself in, I want to challenge you guys to just be creative in whatever limitations you have right now, whether it be mental, physical, or just technical limitations. Try to have some fun and be creative. We'll see you next time. Peace!